Hello, hello, hello. Best day of the week. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Prowess Goes Live. I absolutely love this time with y'all, especially off of the heels of our OBM Opportunity Masterclass. It's like we have so much fun together for 5 straight days and do all these things and so much interaction, and then it stops Monday and Tuesday, but then we have these. So thank you everyone for being here, y'all. This is such an exciting topic. I have been absolutely chomping at the bit to have Leah talk about this. But before we get started, I want to ask a starter question as always, and it is one word open. I just want to hear, how is everyone doing today? So put into chat, one word open. How are we doing? It's Wednesday. We're halfway through. How are we doing? Put into chat. Mine is ready. I just feel so ready, like excited. Oh, we got excited in here. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, y'all. So for all of you who don't know me, I'm Ashley Connell, CEO and founder of Prowess Project. What Prowess does is we connect CEOs who want to scale with their dream right-hand woman, who we call online business managers. And our online business managers are typically women who are returning from a career gap or are in corporate and they want to shift into something that is much more flexible so that they can have the flexibility that make the impact and the income that they definitely want to. So that being said, and speaking about that change and changing their lives, I've been thrilled to talk about this very topic that Leah brought to me maybe a month ago. And ever since she mentioned it, it's been swirling around my head over and over and over again, this idea of a threshold moment. And she's going to get into that, like we're going to talk about for the next 30 minutes. But as we were even getting refreshed today, it reminded me, or she reminded me, how much women face these threshold moments all the time. And it made me even more thrilled to bring it to all of you. So with that, our guest of honor, hello, hello, Leah.
Hello. Thanks, Ashley. I'm super excited to talk about this. Yeah. I know I was going on and on about it this morning even.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited. Okay. So can you just give a quick overview of who you are and just a little context, then we'll go.
Sure. I am Leah, COO here at Prowess. I am started as Prowess as OBM when Ashley first told me this idea that she had. And I have as I was talking about the patchwork quilt, my background is all over the place, from starting out in human services, social services, a little bit in sales, a little bit in graphic design, a little bit in operations. It was all over the place. So when I met Ashley and she was like, so what exactly are you doing? It was like, well, it's a good question. What I do and what I am doing. So now at Prowess, some of you guys have met me in helping with OBM University. I love helping women get started and what their next thing is. And then, all the operations here at Prowess.
Love it, love it, love it. All right. So Leah, tell us, what is a threshold moment?
Okay. So I heard this term probably a month or so ago on one of my favorite podcasts, and they were talking with Asia Suler, and it was this idea that she was talking about. I'm sorry, I'm getting like feedback. She was talking about that we have these moments in our lives where life is changing, we are changing, and we're not quite sure what it's going to look like, but we know that we're moving through this. So when you think about that, the literal definition of a threshold, that doorway that we are about to enter, we don't know exactly what happens when we cross it, but that's where we are in life. So it is just that idea of this is a moment where we know change is coming and we are going to move through it. And this can look like lots of different things.
I'm thinking through that now. I really do. I really, really, really do love it. Do you have examples?
Yes. So This can be anything from when, like, things that we know and we choose, right? We choose some of our threshold moments. For example, like, we went and we started college, right? You moved out, you move into the dorm maybe, and you made this decision to make this change in your life, and you don't know exactly all it's going to do bring into your personality, but you know it's happening. It could be a change that we didn't necessarily want. It could be the loss of a job or a relationship. And we're like, now my life changes. Things are going to look different. I know this is going to change me and I'm going to move through this. Or it could be simply, and this one I love, is just that idea that it's the pull. Like all of a sudden you feel that pull, um, that you know things need to change. And like there's just been times where I've said to somebody, I don't know what it is, but I know that the change is coming and I'm ready for it. So it can just be even those moments where we know, like I like to think of things in like seasons, or we're going through things, and so we just know that we're ready for that next place.
That pull, I never really thought about it like that. When you say threshold moments, I always just assume like something I'm walking through versus the pull. And it kind of reminds me of like the glimmer and the trigger that we talk about a lot.
Mhm.
Like the glimmer when you're leaning forward and you really like something and it's pulling you that way.
Yeah.
Uh,
This to me is like the next step in that, where you're like, okay, I felt the glimmer, I felt the excitement, and now I want to embrace this. And because with all of this, I think what I love about a threshold moment is there is so much choice and opportunity that can be there. Right. And so even if it is a threshold that we're crossing that is not necessarily one that we would welcome, right? Like there are times when it could be a loss, it could be a diagnosis, right? But we still have choice and opportunity in this moment of what we're going to bring with us, what we're going to let go of, and where we're going to go from there.
so awesome. So how everyone on the call are online business managers, and I totally get how this would fit in a personal life. Like having a baby, like you said, getting married. I mean, hell, it could be like deciding to go on a vacation or not, or anything really,
Buying a
anything.
house, yeah,
Buying a
moving.
house. Yes, 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 all those things. What does this look like in business?
Well, to me, like these are like either those exciting times. So it could be like I mentioned, like it could be that you've lost a job, right? And now you need to embark on what is next. And we don't know what that looks like. But it is like, right, you're going to move on to your next position or your next company. So it could be that. I think for business owners, sometimes it is when your company gets to a certain level and you're like, I know I have to grow, I have to scale, I have to
Oh,
bring
yeah.
on the next product, right? Like those are those like gulp moments where you're like, okay, we got to do this. And you need to move through it. And it might not be, there's going to be like with any of this stuff, there's like the friction that's going to come, right? Like any change, we're humans. It's hard to change sometimes, even in the fun times, but it's that. So sometimes in business, you're like, I have to hire new people, right? It's going to change a dynamic. You might need to roll out a new product. You might need to move platforms, like just simple things, but it is a change and a transition. And you know that this is going to change how you interact and what's coming next. And I think for business owners, like the CEO, the consultant, it is when they're saying, I'm going to either, maybe they're changing it, or they could be getting started, or they could be leaving it.
Mm. Well, because what I'm hearing you say, like having my business owner hat on, is there are points in your business where what was working before is no longer working.
Mm-hmm.
Like the people say it all the time. Like you hit 100 grand and your business changes. You hit 250 and your business changes. You hit 500, your business changes. You hit a million, your business changes. 3 million, like et cetera, et cetera. There are these known ones, and I love thinking of it as a threshold moment versus a wall, because that's sometimes how it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like I am hitting up against this wall, and why can't I get through it? I'm doing what I think that I'm supposed to be doing, but this mind shift of a threshold moment, I love it.
Right. The letting go and being like, I don't know what it's going to be, right? That gets me to the next level, but I'm ready. Kind of like that, just being open for the change. being like, I'm ready for what's coming in, right? And so that might mean that you have to accept help. You might have to admit you need to bring in another expert. Like, you're not sure what it's going to be, but you know what? I'm going to be open to these possibilities. I'm going to make the best choice that I can, right? And sometimes a threshold moment is in business is realizing you made a mistake, right?
Totally.
And you're going to change. So it is that point in time where, like, again, you feel that pull, or you see that you need, life is changing, you've made a change, and now you need to be open to that.
And I mean, I'm wondering, for the OBMs who are targeting clients who are more on the woo-woo side, using terms like threshold moment could be very helpful.
Well,
Like,
from my OBN side, like, I got very excited because it kind of put it into context. What I have loved doing is hearing people in their threshold moment of like, I've got to go do this, but I don't know how. And being like, I would love to help you. I mean, Ashley, wouldn't you say that kind of that? I just think we had coffee, was one of our very first conversations. And you're like, okay, Leah, this is what I'm thinking. Right. And like, so looking back, that was your threshold moment of like, I have to go do prowess. Like, you were like, this thing has come to me. I have to go do it. I don't know how to do it. And I was like, and your first thing was like, well, I need a website, right? So I was able to be there and help in that, and help that part of it and those choices that you were making, and then help you be that sounding board of what was going to come next.
I think that's really huge too, just the sounding board. So as an OBM, like, your clients are going to go through this. And what is the role of an online business manager guiding their clients through a threshold moment, or joining them in a threshold moment, or being their solution within a threshold moment? What does that look like?
From my perspective, and I can only speak from that, is that it is like having that awareness that you are going to listen to the lessons, right? Like, it's not coming in and having all the answers right there, or like, you're not the guide. You're not saying, okay, take a left or a right, but you are hearing them, that they are going to make choices. You are going to be there to listen and maybe give feedback, and maybe just be curious in the process, and be like, support them. And like, okay, I hear that this, like, sometimes there's a fear that might come in, or like, am I making the right move? Listening to it, helping them evaluate it, bringing back the data to say, okay, this is what you told me you wanted to do, and here's some solutions, here's some options, here's what we've seen in the past work, what didn't. So I think it's that, but that listening to the lessons that are presenting themselves, because sometimes working with like that visionary person, they may keep crossing almost like a very similar threshold, and they may be saying, I really want to have more time and freedom, but then they keep putting themselves in these situations where they are cranking it out, and like the grind, right? So it's maybe reflecting of being like, maybe so we don't end up back here in the same spot, this is what you've told me in the past. And so it's being the sounding board, and then like reflecting back what you've heard, I think is so important to help them make the right choices. And then I always go back to the data, because that's, I think, what solidifies it, is having that there for them. And sometimes it is just the person to go do the research, them knowing, here's a question I have, here's something, an answer I don't know what we're going to do, and being that person to be like, yep, let me go research it. I don't have the answer either, but we can figure it out.
So how do you help them manage the emotions through it? Because it's not your job to manage their emotions, but there is a healthy amount of EQ that an online business manager needs to have. So like, what's appropriate and what's not? And I ask because the threshold moment can be on such a spectrum. To your point, it could be like, do we start this new campaign? Or it could be, do I completely pivot my business? Like when we decided to focus just on OBM's threshold moment.
Mm-hmm. So I love this question, Ashley. I think that part of that is helping that CEO realize they are actually in a threshold moment, and it's okay if they don't know the answer, right? And then being like, okay. And I remember we kind of did this, like, where are we trying to go? What do we want to achieve? And it's sort of like laying out, like, what is our hypothesis, and what, then like developing that thesis to answer it.
Totally.
And so it's being that person that can help them do that. And I think it's bringing in that comfort. Because like you said, you are not there to be their therapist. You're not there to tell them if it is too much. It's having those boundaries so that they can trust their own boundaries, right? Keeping this like the guardrails up, but still helping them still move forward and take those steps. Because change is scary for anybody. But I think when CEOs have that thought partner, like, right? Like, and we're going to make some mistakes along the way, but we're looking at it. Let me do the data analysis and the research, and you keep testing this out. You keep talking to doing those phone calls, seeing if this is right for our ideal customer. And I'm going to keep crunching the numbers.
Makes so much sense. Does anyone in the audience have any specific questions about threshold moments? Is this making sense? It looks like there are people in the audience who even think that they're having a threshold moment and didn't even realize it. I mean, yeah. I love thinking about it as a threshold moment and all of the opportunity that comes with it versus not a dead end, but there's another word that people typically like a decision point.
Right. And I think helping someone realize, or even ourselves, right? Because as OBMs, there's a point where we're in our own threshold moments, right? Like we decide that's what I'm going to go do. Like,
Yeah.
right? It could be stepping away from corporate and I'm going to go do this, right? Or it could simply like, I'm going to start learning or specializing or niching down. Like those are all threshold moments. But being able to help someone in that moment go from this is a roadblock or this is something I have to overcome, like those heavy words, to this is an opportunity that we have, right? Someone
Yes.
in their business seeing it as an opportunity. And then how, like, right. And just those simple questions of like, what opportunities do you see here? How do you think this is going to get you to like, well, what does this add to your mission? What that like, how does it support your own values? Asking those kind of questions versus, well, what do you think it's going to take to get there and how many more hours and how much more money?
Absolutely. And so what do you think, where is being stuck and the threshold moment? And let me give a little bit of context. I was talking to so many amazing women during the masterclass, and I heard over and over and over again, Ashley, I am stuck at a dead end job. Ashley, um, uh, I am stuck in my OBM career and I don't know what to go do next. I just kept hearing stuck, 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 stuck. At what point does the threshold moment come in? And like, how do you encourage people to move through it? Or do you? Or is it up to them? I don't know.
At the end of the day, it's up to all of us, right? But I think that's the beauty in looking at it as a choice.
Yeah.
Um, any kind of decision or any kind of change, right? We can, like, a lot of people will say that the pain comes in the resisting it, right? If we're like, I don't like, if we think of it simply, again, back to the literal thing, it's a threshold we're going to cross over. It's a doorway, right? So if I'm like, I don't want to open this door, right? Like that is a choice to not do it. But the choice to say, I'm going to open it, I'm going to move through it, and then I'm going to figure it out. I think it really comes down to going back to that pull. If you feel that pull and you're ignoring it, that's where you're stuck. But if you feel the pull and you're like, change has to happen. Like, come on, I'm ready for the change. Then you make that choice for the scary and the other side of it. But for me, like, I mean, I'm not discounting the pain that can come with things or like,
Sure.
especially like in a situation of loss, that it is difficult and it is hard. But sometimes if we just acknowledge that it's there versus trying to resist it, that's where like that the choice can become so much more powerful.
It's so true. And then it just makes me think how many times, me personally, I have wasted time feeling stuck. And again, I'm not talking about loss. I'm talking about like there's a decision I need to make and it's going to be scary and I know I need to do it, but then I'm wasting so much time staying stuck versus going through the threshold moment, which to your point sounds fun.
Yeah, I think a
I'm
lot of
sure
it is like choosing to have this perspective, right? Like that having a different outlook on life is a threshold moment, right? If we're going to say like, you know what, I'm going to wake up every day and just simply be grateful. Like that's a
Yeah,
choice that you're making, right?
it's true.
Lori just mentioned being the buffalo, right? Like that idea of I'm going to make the decision to be the buffalo, that is a threshold moment that we are now going to invite in and start living our life that way versus I'm going to lead with fear, or I'm going to stay stuck, or I'm going to keep doing the same thing over and over again and not getting the results that I want. They're choices.
Yes. Real quick buffalo story. So difference between a cow and a buffalo when there is a storm coming. Cow runs away from the storm, gets hurt, is hungry, is tired, all the different things. Runs. What ends up happening? The storm overcomes the cow. But while the storm eventually gets it, it's tired and it's hurt and it gets more and more hurt. Other side of the coin, the buffalo runs towards the storm, gets through the storm quicker, gets and is healthier, less tired on the other side. Always be the buffalo is what we're talking about for those who don't know.
Yes.
We have a really good question from Sherry here. So, as an OBM, if you're talking to a prospect and realize the client doesn't have a vision for their business, they're just operating. Yes. Is that a threshold moment that they need to figure out before I can help them as an OBM? Great question.
Oh, that is a great question. I think you would need to evaluate, do they want the threshold moment? Some people are very comfortable staying in that cycle, right? Like that's not where they want to go. But if they're at the point where they're talking to an OBM, if they have invited you into that conversation, it sounds like they do want it. They just don't, they might just have that pull, right? So it would be using some words to help them like expand that a little bit, right? And so we can use a lot of the OBM words about KPIs and goals, or it could simply like go back to like the dream casting, right? Like questions like, where do you see this in a year? Where do you see this in 5 years? Right? If there was something else that you could invite into your life, what would that be? Right? Is that them taking a sabbatical? But their business still running? Right? These don't have to be like crazy big changes. They could be very simple things, but still they're inviting something different in.
Well, and where my head went first is as an OBM, if you were interested in this, could you help them define their vision? I think there's a difference between not having a vision and being uninspired or like done with your business. And also, there are a lot of business owners who aren't super passionate about whatever it is that their business is. And it's just a way to make money. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be like a bleeding heart about whatever it is you do. So I think there's different ways of looking at it. And it's your decision as the OBM. Who do you want to work with? There's pros and cons on both sides. I do think it could be a really fun exercise to help them figure out their vision. And to Leah's point, it may not even be that they don't know their vision, that they just need a break, or they just need help, or they just need process or systems or accountability, or whatever that is, so they can get back into what they're really loving to do and why they started the business in the first place, which essentially is the job of an OBM.
Yes. Because I don't think anyone has to have a big revolutionary threshold moment to be able to help them, but it is helping them get clear on what 1 year, 5 years looks like, right?
Yeah.
So again, you don't have to be anyone's therapist, but it is just, sometimes it's just acknowledging, right? That somebody is in, because think about how good that feels when it's acknowledged that change is happening, right?
Sure.
I mean, that's why we have so many, just as humans, we do celebrate a lot of different things that are moments of change, graduations, birthdays, right? Like we 16 and 21, that's the reason why we do that, because they mean different things. So sometimes as an OBN in someone's business, it's just even helping them acknowledge, wow, you crossed over this. What does that now mean for you, right? You've been invited into this new group of networking because you hit this level. What does that look like? What do you want that to look like for you? What do we want to invite in and what do we not want to? Sometimes it's almost as helpful to that CEO as helping them just establish their boundaries and realizing what they don't want to do. because like the ego can help us get all over the place. But it's like, well, what do you really want at the end of the day? You want to work 6 hours and not work on Fridays? That's what we're trying to achieve.
Totally. Such a good point. Sounds dreamy, doesn't it?
It does.
So I say that though, and I've been thinking about this a lot. Like and this is going to sound so privileged, and this is going to sound like so cheesy, but I really do enjoy it. I really do enjoy the work.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I feel like I get kind of preachy, but about when the work doesn't feel like work, it really doesn't. Like with Prowess, it really doesn't. And I think it's because we have unintentionally built this feedback loop where anytime I get an email of gratitude or anytime we get someone who has achieved something, it's just like, oh, hell yeah, that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. This is why I'm speaking for myself here. Leah may be like, oh, no, Ashley, I want to not work on Fridays. But I don't know. I just had to share that because I've been thinking a lot about the definition of work and what it really means and how to make work not this bad thing. But it's a whole other threshold moment that I'm going through.
Well, it's a whole other one of the future live conversations is that like when work just becomes your mission, right? Because how much of what we do is just because we want, like I love getting on the phone with people and helping them figure out either, we talk a lot about like the roadmap sessions that we do here with OBMs, like when they're in the program of just helping them figure out what is next and what they want it to look like and what they don't want it to look like. Like I love how many like Slack messages have you got, Esther? I'm like, this was the best conversation ever. Because I just love those moments for people, right? Because I've been there where I didn't know what was coming next. And that can be a scary place when you know that you need to be doing something, right? Because maybe life is saying income needs to come in, but I don't know what's going to look like. But having those conversations is, again, it's more mission than it is work.
Oh, man, so awesome. So awesome. Any other questions, y'all? We are right at the 30-minute mark. Impressive. That time management skills. Anything else? Anything else you want to share about a threshold moment, Leah?
One, I do think, like, I just want to reiterate that I think as OBMs, and I know why we talk so much about EQ in the coursework that we have, is that this is a natural place that OBMs start the problem solving, the curiosity. So trust yourself when you are helping support someone in this. Keep your boundaries. Again, you're not someone's therapist, but that idea that you are naturally helping someone, like in all of these operation things, that's naturally what you're doing. So even though it can feel like change or friction, go back to the choice. Like, what choices do we have? What do we want to invite in? What do we not want to? And have fun in those curious conversations. Because I think from the OBMs that I've talked to, like that is what lights us up, right? It's a way to problem solve for someone, is to help them find those solutions or just what they're going to test. So trust yourself in that. And then also like celebrate your own threshold moments. I think we need to do, you mentioned it in the beginning, Ashley, that women have lots of these just naturally in our lives. And they need to be celebrated. So even when like we have something, whether it's a choice we've made, like I've decided to start doing this in my career, or I've decided to niche down, or I don't know. I can't make any more things up, but that idea of what we're going to do, I've decided to now start listening to this podcast every morning, like celebrate it and share it with people, because that's when it like kind of solidifies itself.
I love that. I really love that. Well, this is going to be swirling around in my head for the next week at least. Oh man, so good, so good. Thank you everyone for being here. This was wonderful, and congratulations to all of the women who have gone through their own threshold moment and have joined OBM University with us. We are just so happy to have you. And for everyone who is still curious, we closed that cart on Monday, which what that means is you don't get the bonuses. However, we are keeping OBMU open through June 1st before the price increases. So if you are still interested in OBMU, it is our 6-month program. Where you learn how to be an OBM, where you get access to clients, where we have a first client guarantee, all of these different things so that you really become the online business manager and start that business that's going to give you the flexibility that you really want and make the impact in helping these clients through their own threshold moments, which I think it was so powerful that Leah brought up, because yes, that is oftentimes the job of an online business manager. So again, congrats to all the women who have joined. Congrats to all of the women who have been through our program and are getting clients and having their own threshold moments. So good to see all of you. And we will be back here this time next week. Bye for
Thank
now.
you.